On today's episode, I chat with Mason Yu about the current state of SEO and how AI fits into the larger SEO picture. Mason is on the cutting edge of AI use cases within search engine optimization. He's helped brands like ClickUp and Marketer Hire with growth in SEO, and he's uniquely qualified to help us navigate this changing landscape right now. So let's dive right into this one. So before we dive further into SEO with Mason today, I want to kind of level set and just build more of a foundation of who you are, how you got into SEO, and kind of your unique story. So if you wouldn't mind just kind of taking us from day one of SEO, where you were, who you were, and how that's led you to where you are today.
Yes. So I found SEO when I was still a professional violinist, touring as a quartet member. And I was like, looking for something that I could do remotely. And SEO was just something I fell across and I learned all of the foundations and basic strategies and a lot of black hat methods actually. Uh, and that's kind of how I started was by offering these services to local businesses. And for about 2 years, I have been doing this as a violinist full time, violinist by day, SEO by night. And then after that, when the pandemic hit, I just, I grew really in love with marketing and tech. So I decided to jump full force into ClickUp, I was lucky to get hired at that stage in time when ClickUp was really at a growth stage. So I was like employee 200. And then a couple months later, there was 1,000 employees. So that was kind of my journey into SEO, like for just one product, and I wasn't used to that at all. But I learned a lot really deeply, and since then I've been doing a little bit of consulting here and there with different products and different services on SEO strategies. But yes, that's where we are today, and now I'm at the University of Chicago booth furthering my knowledge in marketing and product management, et cetera, et cetera. So,
What was it about SEO in particular that really interested you? What is it about? Is it the creative side, more the analytics side? What what's interesting about SEO, especially today to you?
yeah, great question, Blake. So SEO is really interesting to me because I just was fascinated by the concept that you could actually make money by people coming and visiting your website and somehow like making a purchase on that without any sales needed. And I was just very fascinated by that. As a violinist, I was really in touch with, the softer side, the more ambiguous side of things and more like, very creative part of things. So SEO for me actually was a great marriage between um, that kind of ambiguity because you never really know what Google wants, right? And everybody says a lot of things and you kind of can't really know until you test. So it was a great marriage between that and also like analytics and like hypothesis testing and almost a little science based. Um, but I think what really drew me in was just the fact that people would visit your website and make a transaction or make a phone call. That was the early days of what I was doing was doing Google business listing optimization, and like people were just calling, like real customers were calling for my clients, and I just never knew. I was just in my little bubble before, so that's continued to this day how it's fascinated me when I got into ClickUp, like how there just can be hundreds of thousands of people signing up for the product just from organic search.
The you mentioned earlier that some of the stuff you had done early on was more black hat, which obviously is largely gone away. But I'd love to know what kinds of things were kind of the focus back then, and what you were doing back then, and how that compares to what SEO looks like today for you.
Yeah, black hat is interesting because I think SEOs in general like always verge around like gray, white, black. Like it's hard to really distinguish a boundary there. But I was clearly doing stuff that was against Google's like best practices, which was building those PBN networks, which is the basically a lot of sites that you own and you try to link to yourself, but having different IP addresses and um, that was like one method, right? Then, I mean, that was actually one of the main methods I was really fascinated by in those days by link building. This was in 2000. 2019. But at that time also I had heard that PBNs were dead, right? Back then, like even in 2018, because I think that was more of like 2015 tactic. Um, but it actually worked pretty well for me then. And I do see sometimes, SEOs are still doing that and still claiming it works. So I haven't delved into that lately. But yeah, that was one of the main like kind of black hat methods that I really like experimented with and did get some results. But how that shifted when I went to ClickUp was, I finally learned what link building actually looks like in a more partnership oriented setting and relationship building. And so uh, that was actually one of the huge reasons I joined ClickUp was because I learned in the interviews that they were really interested in somebody to help build out their backlinking program. And I was always like, okay, I really want to know how link building is done for real because I had been just buying links and using PBNs. I never knew what for real meant. So ClickUp really gave me that playground to develop that skill and to uh, explore all these different methods of building links.
Yeah, I want to talk about your time at ClickUp, and maybe we talk a
Yeah.
little link building. There's certainly a lot of people that know the basics of SEO, create content and hopefully it's optimized and then people come to your website. People kind of know that side of it, but diving deeper, a lot of people might have questions on what good link building actually looks like. What are the tactics? What does a program for link building actually look like so that you can replicate success and get more traffic because you're boosting your site authority? What does that look like for you?
Yeah. So that's let me think about that. Yeah, it's a multi-layered answer, I feel like, what link building looks like. Because in some ways, I still think that the work I was doing as a link builder in more corporate setting is like kind of gray hat, black hat in a way, because there are, link exchanges, right? And that sort of network. And so I think if we want to remain like really like best practices and best standards, like it's basically publish like really great content that people would naturally cite. So it's like really in-depth research or some buzzworthy trend building sort of articles that people would link to, or having some tools, right? Publishing tools that people find useful. So they'll link to it. Those are all like the best practice link building methods. But then again, those are all passive link building. So if your job is to be a link builder, like any kind of active link building is against Google guidelines. So like the tier below that best practice one is the really kind of establishing co-marketing activities and trying to offer value to other partner companies that may or may not have to do with link building, and then link building may result in that. So having um just more than just link exchanges and more value fit seem to be like a good, I guess, middle ground for me to wrap my head around. Like this is actually good stuff, right? Not just black hat things. um but then again, there's if you need to have predictable links and you need to have like a quota, or as a manager, you might want to set quotas for your teammates. There are really predictable ways to get links, and there are less predictable ways. So you sort of have to invest in both methods to really bring that link diversity that you're looking for your site. Um, but yeah, there's really no easy way to build links.
Yeah, and I think that's probably why so few people do it do it well.
Yeah.
Um, at ClickUp, what other SEO strategies were you working on besides building a link building program? And how did has AI played a role in any of that?
Yeah, yeah. I'm glad we're moving towards the AI question. So the last thing I did at ClickUp was, and I'm still partly involved, is like building that AI engine. Um, but yeah, moving towards that. So I was ClickUp for about 3 years, and now I'm just part time with them still. Um, how like I had always been wondering, what are methods that I can help the team in that will, grow traffic but not increase resource investment. So I was always looking for these ways, kind of growth hacking in a way, to unlock new growth and not really just demand like a huge budget, right? So the first program that came out of link building and that emerged that I found was a great opportunity was guest posting on ClickUp. So in what I mean by guest posting on ClickUp is not that we try to build links for ClickUp through guest posts, but we would accept partner guest posts on ClickUp sites so that we would get free content. And I found out, our content ranks within a certain period of time. Like we could expect these ROI numbers from our partners' guest posts. They would go through some editing to make sure it was up to our standards. And in return, like the partner would get the link from ClickUp. So the value exchange was that, they would get a great link from ClickUp, but that we would actually get a lot of traffic and we would, um, uh, it would kind of be a co-marketing activity where, for example, HubSpot would post on ClickUp and talk about something tangentially related that we might both have a similar audience that we're trying to serve different solutions to. And so they would talk about their products and then we would make sure that there's a ClickUp section too. So both parties would get some benefit out of those guest posts. So that was like a really successful content arm because ClickUp, publishes hundreds of posts, a month now. But back then, ClickUp only had like 20 to 30 articles per month. And the guest post program was, was basically contributing, I don't know, 10 to 20% of that content was like free content. So it was a really great way to augment our content machine and to bring traffic, bring conversions without investing in more contractors or writers or editors. So, then in the same line of thought of trying to, find efficiencies to bring more growth, then I stumbled upon this programmatic idea, where um, basically for anybody who doesn't know, programmatic SEO is finding a way to leverage like an automated, like a what do you call it? Automated way to create a lot of content from like a single template, and that kind of attacks one type of keyword pattern. So, a concrete example of that would be, you know, s- there's maybe ClickUp is trying to sell their content calendar, something, right? And then so we would then target all the different keywords that have content calendars, like content calendar, like social media content calendar, YouTube content calendar, influencer content calendar. And we would, the content for that to rank would be very similar, right? And then we would then uh, just change out these different use cases according to different logic and rules. And so it's a very engineering approach, very product management approach to SEO is this programmatic way. And AI has enabled us to unlock this lever to make the content unique because one of the old problems with programmatic SEO in the past was that content was never unique. It was always duplicate content with maybe a couple of logic things that changed out the words depending on what use case this page was serving. But now with AI, you can have unique content that targets each segment in a very personalized way. So, like YouTube content calendar wouldn't just have a generic description about our content calendar, but it would talk about how our content calendar can help you publish YouTube videos and, and how you can improve your YouTube following, right? It would actually talk about all those things. And using AI really unlocked us the ability to do all this. And uh, this has been the most exciting project that I worked on, and it definitely was a big success. Like last time I talked to you, it was like we had about 4x more conversions or traffic, but now it's like almost 10x since we started this program. And we're able to publish hundreds to thousands of pages that are really serving these micro segmented keywords.
Yeah, it's nuts. Keeping on with AI, beyond programmatic, what other
Yeah.
areas have you worked with clients or for yourself used AI for SEO?
Yeah. So, there are a lot of tasks in SEO that are very manual, and I challenge everybody who's listening to this if they are thinking about programmatic or not programmatic AI solutions to things. Just what is something that is sort of a bummer to work on all the time, right? And then like think about how a workflow of how that would be automated or to be improved. So it may or may not include AI, but I kind of thought the solutions I came up with that involved AI. came from a standpoint of like, I want to automate something. I want to make my production go faster. So that was the kind of standpoint I had. And so this is still, I guess, supporting the ClickUp programmatic play, but we came up with different tools to help us and some mini scripts that I helped build that would leverage AI to help us do different things. So, for example, uh, keyword research when you're doing programmatic, there's thousands of keywords you're managing, and so we would have a workflow that would pass this huge list of keywords through this kind of AI machine, which is really simple, just a couple of steps of scripts, right? And then it would spit out a more cleaned out version of the keywords that didn't have very super close variants, right? So that was like one example um, of like just cleaning up messy data, right? That's sort of the use case. And I'm sure a lot of people that are in data, right? They probably experience really like complex data issues and incomplete data. And I think AI is a really good tool to really clean that up. So that's like one method, right? Then, we when we're doing like strategy for content, there's always this competitive research sort of uh, a step that you need to analyze the Google search results to see what everybody else is writing about to make sure you also include all those points. And so, what better way to do that is to have some kind of AI or some kind of automation be able to bring all this information back to you so that you don't have to click and open 10 tabs. That's another way. And there are a lot of other great SEO AI people that I like to follow as well and to get great ideas from. But I do think that AI has enabled all of us to be solutions oriented and to be almost like software developers in a really mini way. Um,
As you look back at the past few years now that you've been working in SEO pretty heavily, what are some of the big challenging problems that keep coming back all the time?
as I look back into SEO,
Yeah.
um, I think the the concept of SEO, that I guess the big problem is just the fact that it is a zero sum game. So winner takes all, basically, like winner takes 30%, right? And that is like in itself makes it a very competitive industry, especially for the most profitable areas. And so, like, I think in terms of it's a good problem because it's so competitive, then people get very creative, like websites get better and better. And so that's why we do see usability of all these websites just get more and more modernized and faster because everybody's trying to win their spot on Google and all these other search engines. At the same time, because it's so heavily reliant on these machine learning algorithms by Google, by Bing, by all these other search engines, um, there are ways to hack it, and there's a lot of best practices of hacking, which doesn't necessarily serve the user well. So so for me, like there's a good problem of like it really elevates the quality of most of the quality of like content sharing, but at the same time, it also because we are beholden to an algorithm, there is a lot of not so great practices done just to serve that mission. So, content quality itself of like creativity and like uniqueness and personalized things like gets it's harder to I think make a business case to go in that direction. So I think I see like two problems there. And then again, the another big problem is the trend where it seems like all these big companies are trying to add their own AI layer to all the content that we're producing so that we're almost like being their, we're kind of being these big tech companies' assistants or like content grinders in a way. So there's that issue as well. Um, so yeah, I mean, who knows what's going to happen after that, right?
Yeah. Last
Yeah.
question here for you around tooling. You've been around SEO now and marketing for a while, so I'm sure you have tools that you keep coming back to that you couldn't live without. What are specifically like SEO tools maybe that are the most impactful for your day to day job?
Yeah. So, Looker Studio, Google Data Studio. Basically, that pipes all of our data together, and you can combine lots of sources. Is one of the best tools that I've seen enable understanding of your data and to make decisions on it. But in terms of an actual SEO tool, Ahrefs is still my go-to. It serves all of it kind of meets all the requirements that I need in terms of you know un- understanding competitors, understanding backlinks, understanding like crawling your own site and auditing it, right? Like all those technical things. It's good enough in all of those regards, and so I know there are probably point solutions that are better in each way than Ahrefs, but I always find myself preferring that platform method. It gives me a ton of information, and then I can then manipulate that information to serve whatever uh, decision that I'm trying to come to next.